What's going on, everyone? It's Adam Ayala, your modern psychoanalytical relationship specialist. Today, we're back on your tango and we're looking up the article 7 Communication Skills and Only Perfect Couples Practice. And this is written by Mary Ellen Joggin Jerry Durbinstein. So, I'm going to link the article down below. This intro is a pretty good intro, but we want to get to the 7 skills. So here are the 7 ways to open up communication in your marriage, which will lead to deeper intimacy. So these should also work in long-term relationships, maybe not short-term relationships though. Haven't read through this article yet, so it's going to be a cold read. So number 1, or the first skill, learn how to resolve conflict. All right, yeah, that's the general idea. Let's see what I got to say. Avoiding conflict at any cost gets you nowhere because it means essential information isn't being communicated. Yeah. And escalating the conflict to the point of it being unmanageable gets you nowhere. It makes both of you walk on eggshells around and afraid to bring up sensitive topics. Yeah, so blowing up or shutting down is just a resistance to taking responsibility for the problems in a relationship. Okay. Conflict in and of itself isn't a bad thing. Yeah, that's a big thing that people don't know. They think that if they're in a perfect relationship, they shouldn't be fighting. You really should be fighting one way or another, or as, psychologists and psychoanalysts even like to say, to clean up the word, be in conflict. You're fighting. It is an inevitable part of a relationship. Yes, inevitable. You have to do it. Or you're just someone is climbing up and not saying what they need, which is no good for a relationship. If you grew up in a home where conflict always led to hurtful consequences and unresolved issues, you may not believe that. Yeah, so this is a pretty big point. If you grew up in a home where your mom and dad were always fighting, or whoever, grandma, grandpa, your siblings, and your parents, you'll never believe that trying to talk things out or fighting with someone's ever going to be useful. Totally true. But the process of working through conflict and its inherent tensions while maintaining a positive connection with your spouse can be a profound learning experience. Yeah, it can reteach you what you never learned when you're younger. So if you grew up and when fighting just caused more pain, then you're always going to believe that fighting causes pain. But if you're with someone and you realize and you fight with them, or be in quote unquote conflict with them, and you see that there's positive outcomes, you retrain yourself to really believe that, oh, if I speak up and even if you get in an argument, something good comes out of it, then you'll more likely do it. It can also deepen intimacy and mutual compassion, yeah, and strengthen your relationship 100%. What did I have a problem with this? Okay, right here. While maintaining a positive connection with your spouse. So this is still too positive when it comes to conflict. When you're fighting, and if you're mad at them, you should be mad at them. You don't have to think, oh, I need to hold back on how mad I am with them. You don't hit them. You're not going to, break things. You really shouldn't break things or break their face or anything like that. But it's okay to feel fully negative towards someone. Part of loving someone in a real way, not on a Hollywood way or a TV way or a TV show way, is that you can really get in moments where you really hate them. Like, really just feel that. And it's okay to feel that. You don't act on it. You don't do anything negative about it. Then you start working on yourself to figure out, what's all this hate and hostility I have towards them. It's a way of opening up and just also deepening the intimacy and compassion with yourself. All right, number 2. Remember the things that are safe to say in a healthy relationship. Okay. When you're afraid to communicate with your spouse, the idea of negating or countering their opinions may seem insane. Do you constantly say things like, no, I don't like that, you're wrong, or I don't want to, or are you kidding? Again, we're talking about non-abusive relationships. Okay. In which one or both spouses have personal issues about expressing themselves. In healthy relationships, partners share their feelings without fear. They even call one another out on their stuff and ask for help. both from one another and from support systems. Yeah, this is good advice in non-abusive relationships. Yeah. In abusive relationships, one or both of you are trying to cut the other person out from their support systems, for instance. So that's how you can tell if you're fighting in a abusive or non-abusive relationship. They feel safe saying no to requests that are uncomfortable for them. They can express an opinion without cowering in a corner. They can express fear with the trust they will be met with compassion. So there's a two-way street to being able to say no, or no working in a relationship is actually the more correct way of thinking about it. So for no to work in a relationship, the person who is going to say no has to know how to say no. And a lot of people don't know how to say no in a constructive way. And then when a person knows how to say no, they have to have a partner who understands how to hear no. So there's a two-way street here. This is focusing a lot on you as the person saying no and the other person having to respect you saying no. You also have to, as the person saying no, understand why you're saying no. So number 3, be mindful of fighting fairly. Learn about the main offenders that escalate conflicts and make a promise to yourself to stop doing them. Also, stop repeating the bad things that you do. Don't make the same mistakes. Okay. Deal with one topic at a time. Big thing right here. Don't talk about 20,000 things in one argument. When you start talking about 20,000 things in one argument, you're just avoiding dealing with anything and you're trying to hurt the other person. A lot of people understand when someone's doing this. It's the worst thing ever. If you're talking with someone, you're trying to deal with a conflict, or you're just straight arguing, and they start bringing up things from last year or last month and things that are relevant, just walk away. There's no reason to be there anymore. They're just there to be malicious at that point. Deal with one topic at a time. Avoid name calling. Talk about the issue at hand, and don't attack the person. It's all great advice. Don't talk about inflammatory topics when under the influence of alcohol. Yeah, just don't talk about anything important when you've been drinking. And strive for peace rather than winning and being right. So strive for peace rather than winning and being right. I don't know, we should be striving for peace. We should be striving for understanding and progressive growth. Because if you're striving for peace, people who are more inclined to be compassionate will just shut up. And they'll just, quote unquote, keep the peace and never speak up. So striving for peace is actually never good in a relationship. You got to be striving for understanding and constructive, progressive growth. And when I mean progressive, I mean breaking the boundaries of where your relationship is already at. Rather than winning and being right. Yeah, I mean, if you're right, you have to stick to your guns and not falter, But you also have to be okay with learning that even though you think you're right, you might be wrong. Number 4, be responsible for wordless communicators. All right. Remember the old adage, communication is 10% of what you say and 90% of how you say it. Kind of, yeah. Be constantly mindful of keeping a calm body language. Be thoughtful about your word choice and tone. Speaking freely doesn't mean let her rip. Okay. So you don't have to be uncontrolled when you're in an argument. If you feel that you can't control yourself, go take a walk, go scream into a pillow, do whatever you gotta do. Go watch some TV, whatever chills you out, then come back. So yeah, but be mindful of keeping a calm body language. Who's that towards? Is that towards, are they saying like don't break things, don't use your arms? Like, here in America, we're like, oh, Italians, they love to use their arms in their talk. They're saying like don't use your body language. I'm not sure about this. I would love to talk to the author about this one a little bit more. I don't like the idea of keeping a calm body language. If you're like having fists clenched and you're about to like acting like you're gonna hit them, That's a totally other thing. That's not body language anymore. That's action. So there's a difference between body language and action. And be considerate to both of you in your relationship with regards to timing and location of discussion. Yeah, okay, so don't talk about this in public places. Turn off the TV and your phones. Wait until the kids are in bed or out of the house. And never shell shock your partner with a surprise when you need to talk, attack, or make threats. Should you give your partner time to talk about things always? Yeah, this is a fair point, unless you say, hey, we got to talk about something, let's talk tonight. And then they're suddenly always have to stay at work late. So, yeah, it's generally good advice. Number 5, write out your thoughts, feelings, and needs in advance. When you're afraid to communicate with your spouse, you may be paralyzed by issues that have nothing to do with them. Ooh, good point. Sometimes coming with an extra layer of preparation can calm your fears and help you keep you on topic. Yes. So if you're someone who just has racing thoughts, let's say you have insomnia and it's because of racing thoughts, when you go into an argument or a discussion, that's going to be a quote-unquote conflict, write down your points. This will help you keep on topic as much as possible. There is no shame in carrying a piece of paper into an important conversation, and that's especially true if your spouse knows you are working hard to improve the communication between you. They will respect you and appreciate your effort. They should respect you and appreciate your effort for sure. If they start criticizing you for the paper, you might need some extra help. Number 6, utilize a need script. What's a need script? The idea here is to focus on the problem or issue and not on the other person. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah. When you are going to deal with a problem, you don't want to say, you never take out the trash. That word you is an attack on a person's ego. You want the sentence to be about an object. So you would say, yo, what's up with the trash never being taken out? So the topic of that sentence is the trash, not you, like the other one. So this is one of the ways that you can talk. And actually, here's going to be a shameless plug. I do have a guide or a help with that. This is a 4-step solution on how not to argue with your partner or be ready to argue with your partner. So I give 4 steps. I'm going to have a link down below. This is part of my emailing list where you get a lot of my contact way ahead. So name, email, then you learn how to stop the arguments. So let's go back to number 6. Then express your feelings using a non-blaming I statements. Convey the nature, intensity, cause, and duration of the feelings. Start broadly and get more specific, but never blame. So I statements are a step up from you statements. So the you statement is, you don't take out the trash. I statements would say, I don't like when the trash is taken out. That's okay, but that opens you up to being attacked yourself, because what they can say back to I don't like when the trash isn't taken out. So they can say, well, then you don't ever wash the dishes, right? You're inviting an attack. So this is why I actually don't like I statements, and I have a problem with psychology using I statements. They're still open to an ego attack just of the other person. That's like a martyr thing that's in psychology, which is very destructive for relationships. I don't see I statements actually working very well long term. They're an upgrade from you statements, but not the best. So this is why I say, instead, make an object question. So like I said before, you would say, what's going on that the trash is not taken out? So the worst is, you never take out the trash. I statements is, I don't like when the trash is not taken out. The better statement is, what's going on with the trash not being taken out? Make the subject the trash or the problem, the issue you're dealing with. All right, and never blame. No, it's a question. Object-oriented questions are about exploration and understanding, not being right or blaming. Finally, make a request for a specific, tangible behavior change. You're not trying to change the person's attributes of feelings, only specific behavior that will help with your feeling. Huh. So you can try this. So use the I statement. I wish the trash was taken out longer. And then let's say they don't attack you with, oh, you should then do more dishes. They say, oh, yeah, sure, yeah, I really should take the trash out. So then they're saying, make a request. And you can say, would it be all right? Or then you would say, use another I statement. I would like if the trash is taken out every Wednesday night before bed. Sure, you can try that. Try and see how that goes. This is decent advice. Because you're only dealing with a specific behavior that will help with your feelings. I mean, you should also understand their feelings. And this is my big issue with I statements. I statements really ignore the other person you're with. You're just training them like a dog to take out the trash when you want them to. Sometimes that's appropriate because you're just trying to deal with a very specific situation. But in the long term, the other person who just keeps hearing I statements, they will get resentful. Oh, here we go. As an example, should just keep reading, right? I need you. So this is not an I statement. This is a you statement. To be more attentive to helping around the house. Will accomplish nothing. Okay. So here's another quote. Here's a you. If you could take care of the dishes after dinner, I could get a little rest before nursing the baby again. Just might get you some rest in a clean kitchen. Okay, this is safe because you made a you and an I statement and made it teamwork. Okay, this is a very good way of doing this. I mean, this is tricky. It's going to be really hard to get in the moment, but this is a good middle ground. I'm trying to think if there's any other way we could say this. You could say the dishes, to take out the you and the I statement, which will less likely lead to an attack or an argument because it doesn't inflict any kind of feelings in the person or evoke any kind of feelings in either person. Person that, especially someone has guilt issues, you don't want to say you or I statements around them, especially, anytime in a relationship. One way to re-say this paragraph or this sentence right here, you could say, if the dishes could be cleaned after dinner, the baby could be nursed more quickly. Something to that sense. You're taking out the I and you, and they understand who's doing the dishes and who's doing the nursing. The guy's not going to be nursing the baby, So this is something to that more sense. I have to think about that a little bit more. Number 7, go back to school. Oh boy. Sadly, our education system is built around subjects like math, science, and history. What math, science, and history are amazing. Math is just the language of everything. Science is why we have everything. And history is that so we don't forget stuff and repeat mistakes. All right. Topics like communication and interpersonal skills are left to social osmosis and at the forefront, and these skills are even more challenging in our high stakes intimate relationships. Oh, okay, I got what she's saying. Okay, they weren't doubting math, science, and history. Okay, yeah. So in school, we're never taught how to speak or be in relationship. That's fair. We're only taught by our peers. They punish us or we get rewarded for what we do. And that means most people walk down the aisle with a lifetime vow predicated on whatever relationship skills they picked up from their surroundings. This is not going to be very popular of me to say, but I'm going to say that not even talking about marriage and walking down the aisle, but most people don't qualify to be in a long-term relationship. They just don't have the skills or the brain maturation or development to really be in a long-term relationship. It's messed. It sounds messed up to say, but there's a truth in that, and that truth is actually really painful. It's just like if you had a surgeon and they never went and learned how to be a surgeon, you wouldn't want them to be your surgeon. If they kind of knew and they kind of like learned stuff from their surroundings, they're not a qualified surgeon. So why would you want to be with someone who isn't good at relationships, doesn't know about a relationship, doesn't make it one of the most important things to learn and understand? Why would you trust them with your heart, with your life, with your finances, with your kids, and your future? And why would you want to be a person who doesn't know how to be in a relationship? Okay. So there are teachers whose whole vocation is devoted to helping couples communicate and relate in effective ways that build closeness. Yes. This I believe their doctor is definitely one of them. And so am I. There are countless formats available to cater to your relationship goals. Yes. When you're afraid to communicate with your spouse, it may be because you never learned how to communicate. Yes. Never learned how to communicate. And you've, more importantly than communicating, you've never learned how to sit down and listen. Like actually listen. And I don't mean listening as in you hear what the other person says and you're thinking about the next thing you're going to say back to them to destroy their point. I mean, actually just shutting your mind and listening to them. And as the saying goes, when people know better, they do better. Well, no, people don't. Just because you know better, you don't do better. Many people know better and they still don't do better. So, no, definitely not a true quote. It's a wishful thinking. That's what we call that. If you truly love your spouse and want your marriage to succeed, take the risk on behalf of the most vital ingredient of your relationship: communication, and I'm going to add listening. Accept your differences and quirks and cultivate a loving desire to meet your spouse's needs whenever possible. And above all, remember that your relationship is far more important than the issues standing in its way. Again, this is Dr. Jerry Byrne Duberstein. Okay. And she is a couples therapist. He is a couples therapist, and his partner, Mary Ellen Goggin, is a relationship guide. Is a relationship guide? I guess that's another way of saying relationship specialist. And the link is down below if you want to see any more of their information. So yeah, guys. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, these are a couple of interesting points, not necessarily skills. I mean, number one, this is the general skill that you were looking for when you're reading this article, but it's not a skill. Remember that things are said. This is something to remember. Be mindful of fighting fairly. This is just something to remember when you're arguing, when you're in a conflict. Be responsible. Maybe this could be a skill. Have the skill of being responsible to wordless communicators. Yeah, that's a skill. Write out your thoughts. That could be a skill to learn. That's definitely a skill to learn. Number 6 is definitely a skill, using the need script. And number 7, this is like a long-term skill that everyone should be doing all the time. Doesn't matter if you're married for 40 years. You still need to be learning because people are always changing. All right, everybody. So this is, again, your Tango, 7 communication skills that only perfect couples practice.